Oh, hello, this is Tak Chong from Walk with Tak. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm a retired college professor in immunology. The reason I started this channel because I have deep concern of the nutritional status of the standard American diet. The motto of my channel is let food be thy medicine and let medicine be thy food. My goal of the channel is to introduce you to my cooking system so that I want to make cooking practical, efficient, creative, economical, and of course tasty. My cooking system is known as the FAST cooking system. The word FAST is the acronym of the 4 attributes of the cooking system, which stand for flavor chasing, advanced prepping, stir frying, and template-based cooking. You can learn more about my cooking system by taking a look at this video. In this video, I want to introduce you to what is called the soy tofu puff. Soy tofu puff is an amazing food ingredient. When you cook it properly, it's probably one of my favorite food. However, soy tofu puff could be difficult to cook. If you don't cook it right, somebody would say it just tastes like you're chewing on cardboard. But when you cook it correctly, it's probably one of the most delicious food to taste. Basically, soy tofu puff is fried tofu. It comes in a package. You can find them in most Asian markets. The wonderful thing about the soy tofu puff is that it can be frozen. Now, most of the time, tofu could not be frozen without significantly change its texture, but soy tofu puff freezes really well. I always have about 3 or 4 frozen packages in my freezer, so anytime I want to eat some tofu, I will have it available immediately. I really like this brand, and it has no preservative. So you have to use it right away, otherwise it's going to spoil. They're really nothing more than tofu in cubes that has been deep fried. However, it is not oily at all. If you like fried tofu, you're going to love this. It is important for you to cut it open because this is how you're going to absorb the sauce from your dish, which what makes it really delightful. As you can see inside of the tofu, from the frying, it creates this matrix. When you cook in a dish, it acts almost like a sponge and it sucks up all the gravies or the sauce from the food ingredients. I'm going to cook this dish in my 14-inch Cucina stainless steel wok. I'm going to season the wok with my spot seasoning method. If you're not familiar with this method, you can take a look at this video. The first ingredients I'm going to add to the wok is some thinly sliced carrot. I'm not going to add a lot. The reason I add the carrot partly because I want to give the dish some color. Next, I'm going to add some French green bean. You can use regular green bean as well. I'm going to cut the green bean to about the size of the little fingers. This will make them a little bit faster to cook. If you leave them in the whole length, that would take longer to cook. Personally, I also find that give me a better eating experience. Now, at this point of cooking, you want to make sure that you have your stove set on high. You want the temperature as hot as possible because it is at this oil temperature the Maillard reaction takes place that will generate flavor molecule on the surface of the food ingredients. After stir fry the carrot and the green bean for about probably 20 to 30 seconds, I'm going to add some zucchini. The zucchini takes a shorter time to cook, so it is okay to add them a little bit later. At this point, I always keep an eye on make sure that I have enough oil in the wok that will cover the surface of all the food ingredients. After stir fry the content for another 20 seconds or so, I add the last vegetable to the dish. This is a wild mushroom known as maitake mushroom. Now, I have another video which I talk about this mushroom, and you can take a look at that video to learn more about this amazing mushroom. At this point, you want to make sure the temperature of the oil is as hot as possible because there's, again, anytime when you have all these ingredients in it, it will lower the temperature of the oil. One interesting way that I have learned from a friend of mine who's a chef, he said, if your oil temperature is hot enough, you will find that the food ingredients will generate some wonderful aroma. So he said, always make sure, stick your nose in the wok and see whether you can smell all the amazing aroma come from the vegetables. The order how you add the vegetables in some way is determined by how much you want to cook the vegetables. If you want to cook the vegetable longer, or a particular vegetable longer, then you add them earlier during the stir fry. Anything you don't want to cook it too much, then you add it later. By this point, the vegetable probably, I would say, about 50 to 60% cooked. The main vegetable in there that you have to worry about is the green bean, because that takes longer time to cook. In my case, to make sure that the green bean is done, I would do a quick taste test. The next step is for me to add the soy tofu puff into the wok. A couple of things I would like you to notice is that as soon as you add the soy tofu puff, you notice that it starts to pick up the fluid in the wok. As I have mentioned earlier, the reason you want to cut the soy tofu puff apart because the matrix inside the soy tofu puff will be exposed to the fluid and it will act like a sponge. Once you look at the appearance of the soy tofu puff, looks like they start to soften. It's just like a sponge has been absorbing some fluid. Now you know you are ready to season the dish. So the first thing I'm going to season the dish is with some minced garlic. I add 1 tablespoon of minced garlic. I find that the general principle of adding garlic is that if you want the garlic flavor to be strong, then you add it later during the cooking stage. Now, if you want the garlic just blend into the flavor of the dish, then you will add it earlier. So next, I'm going to start with some oyster sauce. I'm going to add probably about 1 tablespoon of oyster sauce. Now you notice that I never really measure my seasoning, and I think this is something I would encourage you to do, because this will give you the flexibility and as well as more understanding of how flavor come about, because this will help you to make adjustments in the future. You probably also notice that I put my oyster sauce in a squeeze bottle. That's definitely the way to go. There are so many ways to flavor your dish. I usually end up doing it different each time, depending on who is eating and how I feel like on that day. In this particular instance, I like my dish to be a little bit more salty, and also I like to add some color. So I'm going to add some dark soy sauce. Now I have a video on dark soy sauce which explains what it is and how you use it. Next, I decided I want to create more of a sauce in this dish because this will allow the tofu puff to soak up the sauce. One of the most wonderful things about the tofu puff is when it soaks up the sauce, because when you bite into it, you feel like you are biting into a packet of soup. So I decided I'm going to add a little bit more water to the dish. After doing a quick taste test, I feel that I would like to have some sweetness to the dish, so I added a bit sugar to it. After mixing quickly everything in the wok, the dish is done, and the total cook time is 7.5 minutes. After I transfer the content to a serving plate, I already have a voluntary tester. My wife is ready to give it a try. A tofu puff is probably one of my wife's most favorite food. I have to keep an eye on her because if not, she might end up eating most of it before it ends up on the dining room table. If one thing I would recommend you to try that I think you will really enjoy it is this soy tofu puff. I encourage you to look for it and find an Asian store that you can buy it. Buy a few package and put them in the freezer and give it a try. I think you will enjoy it. If you follow this recipe, I can guarantee you that it will come out really, really well. I know this particular recipe, which I'm sure I call it a template, seems complicated, but it actually is not at all. It's very easy to make, very quick, and the result is really rewarding. I also would like to ask you to help me to improve my video. Obviously, I'm doing this video for you, and I want to make sure that I cover the material that is clear, that is thorough, and that you can reproduce it, because ultimately I want you to cook what I have shown you here. I want you to experiment with it, and I want you to find ways to apply in your diet. So please make any comment below, suggestions that how I could make this video better. Thank you for watching. If you are not a subscriber and you would like to receive notifications of my future video postings, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please click the like icon below because that will help me to expand my audience base. I'll see you next time.